First off, if you interpret this video in any other way besides me trying to convince you that you have the ability to play blues guitar, then you're interpreting this video incorrectly. I might say some things that ruffle your feathers, and I totally understand that, and we'll get to the heart and soul of what I mean by that, but I promise you this is a motivational lesson to help you understand how to play the blues. And so with that being said, this lesson's gonna be very different from anything I've done on my channel. I'm just gonna sit and talk to you. I'm not gonna play guitar, and I urge you to watch the whole thing. Okay, so listen, there's three there's three main myths about the blues that really get into people's heads. When I say people, I mean guitar students' heads, and convince them that it's much harder than it is. The blues is not a hard genre on guitar to play or master. It's all the crap that's out there that convinces us otherwise. So I'm going to address some myths, and then I'm going to point you to some videos, and that's going to be this lesson. So again, just sit and listen. All right, here we go. Myth number one, you have to be sad or broken or depressed to really feel the blues. That is not true at all. All right, the blues might have started with people who had some real stuff happen to them early in the early years of blues, and this genre spoke a lot about that. But modern blues players that we all worship, they're not terribly depressed or angry or sad all the time. These people, think of your favorite blues guitar player. They probably live in a mansion. They probably travel the world. They probably have everything they want right now. And they still get on stage and they play the blues. They're not lying to you, because we'll talk about that. They know how to provoke the blues out of their guitar, but it's not part of their being. It might have been in the very, very beginning. It might have been influenced by someone, but everybody has stories. I have stories, you have stories, they have stories, but the internal turmoil that we hear sometimes from the blues is a formula of how the blues works and what that player can bring to the table with their human element of playing. All right, I'm going to say that really quickly again. You can be a happy person, right? You could have a good life. You could, your dog doesn't need to run away. Your wife doesn't need to leave you, and you can still play the blues. You can get into that character, okay? That's myth number one, is that you have to be in some sort of anguish or misery to really be successful at the blues. You don't. Myth number two. Now, myth number two might ruffle some feathers, but I truly believe what I'm going to say. I really believe in what I'm going to say, which is learning blues by rote, which means watching those 100 blues lick videos and learning blues licks and play this lick and play that lick. That is not learning the blues. That is not learning the guitar. That is not learning music. That is robbing you of critical thinking of how the blues works, of how the blues should feel, what your place is as a musician in the blues. You've heard me say this before on my channel. Learning blues licks, the only reason you would do that is to get your fingers to move in different ways than they have done before. Never to regurgitate that on stage and pick a card out of a deck of cards and play this riff and then pick a different card and play that riff. That's not how music works. It's not how you want to play the blues if you really want to feel like a blues musician. The blues is a formula. Again, it's a formula. It's very easy to understand. The standard blues is 1 4s and 5s, major chords or 7th chords with blues scales or minor pentatonics or mixodorin, all that stuff happening on top, plus the feel of the guitar player. That's what it is. Now, the video I'm going to point you to is my Blues Matrix video. If you haven't seen the Blues Matrix video, it's linked below. It's going to be popping up here. You really want to take a look at it. It's going to tell you right away, like, this is how the blues works. This is how you want to think about it. The end. All right, that's it. And when you learn how the rules work, you learn that the human element, which is the the way you play the blues, the tempo you play the blues, the phrasing of your blues is what makes you your blues guitar player, but there are rules to the blues, and you as a musician have your opportunity to put your stamp on it, not by the chords and not by the scales necessarily, but what you do with those. All right, so learning blues by rote, learning licks, and learning yeah, like, you know, blues riffs, they're no good for you. They just make you a puppet, and you don't want to be a puppet. You want to be able to coax out of this guitar anything you want to coax out of it, and that's that. All right, so that's it. We're gonna get to myth number 3 now. Myth number 3 now is that the blues is just the blues. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people, believe it or not, who like the blues and even don't like the blues, think that the blues by itself is this standalone genre that is the blues, and you might like it, you might not, but the blues is the blues, so I'm gonna play the blues. Well, that can't be further from the truth, and let me explain. The blues is the most important type of music for any musician who wants to jam, be an improviser, own the instrument, understand how music works. It is that important to learn, because it leads everywhere in music. The blues is not just the blues. The blues is the actual, like, germ seed of understanding your responsibility as a musician and where you are in any type of music. And if you look at that master music formula, this is kind of the first time I've said it, and I mentioned it earlier, but the formula, when you look at, you know, music equals scales and or chord tones happening over chords plus the human element, the blues is where you want to start, because the chords on the bottom portion of this formula do not line up with the scales on the top. What do I mean by that? Well, we're playing major chords or seventh chords in standard blues. There's minor blues, there's major blues, all that stuff. Don't worry about it right now. In the standard blues, those chords have a major third in them. And the scales that we tend to choose that make the blues, sounding the blues, all have a minor third. And it's the sound of that minor third in the lead rubbing up against the major third of the chords that are being played that gives the blues its A1 steak sauce, its tang, its yearningness, the sultriness of it. The bite is really comes down to the minor third rubbing on top of the major third. And when you start to look at the blues with two different elements happening, the chords being played and how different they are from the scales being played at the same time, you start to understand, oh, music is two things happening at once. When you're playing standard music or different types of music that are not the blues, you have a major chord and a major scale, or a minor chord and a minor scale, and everything looks the same because we're playing minor chords and minor scales. But it's the difference between the minor type scales on top of the major type of chords that we can kind of separate them in our mind and say, oh, I see this minor scale in my mind. I also see this major chord in my mind. I now have options to pick and choose what I want to play out of each of these. And this is all explained in my Blues Matrix video that I'm referencing, along with everything in my Blues Primer playlist. I really want you to be able to play the blues. And you can play the blues. It's really not hard. It really should be studied if you want to take your guitar playing to any other place, jam, improvisation, jazz. You really want to develop the mindset, being able to see two things at once, and it's what the blues does the best. And that last piece of the puzzle, the human element, which is the rhythm, the tempo, the techniques, the slides, the bends, the holds, the breath, the solos, the fastness, the scale positioning, all that stuff comes down to what you want to do, what you like the most when it comes time to do it. And the more you study the blues and how to play it and how simple it is, again, Blues Matrix video, link below and up here, even my Blues Primer playlist, if you haven't checked them out, it's going to make it so easy. So easy. I promise you. You can look at the comments, like on all the videos. I'm not here to confuse you. I'm here to make you feel good about your guitar journey, and look forward to developing the skills you want to hear come out of your own amp. I'll stop talking. Go check out those videos. Don't believe these myths. Believe in yourself.